This is Jonathan Agatha for Pro Boxing Fans. We're up here in Newcastle. It's fight week. Savannah Marshall defending her WBO middleweight title against Femke Hermans. I'm joined by Macklin. Matt, how you been?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good. Really looking forward to the fight now that we're up here, and you see the fighters doing the public workouts. Not expecting to see anything. We're not any tactics, anyone giving anything away. But once you start seeing them working out, shaking out, you get chatting to them, you get you excited for the fight on Saturday.
Just before we talk about the fight, this sort of new partnership between boxing and Sky has been going on a few months. You've had some big fights. How have you assessed it as a pundit? Changing promoters.
Yeah, it's look, like when there's it was an unbelievable partnership and journey with Sky and Matchroom for over 10 years, and it really put UK in a position where they were bringing big, it was right up there, really was. During that time, you had the rise of Anthony Joshua and the Olympians, and it really did. Sky pay-per-view, it smashed it out of the park, and Matchroom put on these amazing events, and it was a credit to both companies, Matchroom and Sky. Obviously, Matchroom have gone over to DAZN, but Sky and. It's hurt them, and it'll have hurt Sky a little bit. But now it's a new era. They're starting out with Boxer, and you won't get to where it took 10 years to build Matchroom to where it was. Or it took it a few years, and then it had so many years, kind of going from strength to strength. But so you can't expect Sky and Boxer, that partnership, to pick up where that left off. That can't happen. This will take a bit of time to build. There's fighters. A lot of fighters that were already under contract and different things. So there was only a certain amount of fighters. There was only certain fighters that were open to get, if you know what I mean. So I think they've signed the best they can at the time. I think they're putting on the best shows and events they can. But these guys need to be built. Look, Richard Riakporhe, obviously COVID happened. Everybody in terms of activity, but he boxed in October, November last week. That's a guy whose profile has gone through the roof. He's probably a couple of fights or a few fights away from a world title shot, and which he could win. He's improving as a fighter as well. So, there was noticeable, for me anyway. It was noticeable that there was definitely a much bigger crowd at the last. So his last three fights have all been at Wembley Arena, the OVO Arena now. So. But it was noticeable, I felt, that there was a bigger crowd there last time, and I know it was two Londoners and all that. But what I'm saying is, when you're boxing on Sky and you're getting big viewing figures, you got the build-up fight week, you got the night of the fight, you got everyone talking about you the next day on social media, etc. Then you're boxing again. It's like your profile's building, your star status is building, your ability is developing, you're growing as a fighter, but you're also growing as an attraction. So that's just one fighter. Obviously, February was a really strong month. We had Eubank Williams, which was a good fight in Cardiff. We had Khan Brook in Manchester, and of course Josh Taylor-Catterall in Glasgow. Now, I remember being at all three of those fights. After being at the two before Christmas, the initial ones with Boxer at Wembley Arena and the OVO Arena, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is big time boxing in comparison. Again, it had that big fight feel. Now, I went to Conlon Wood, that was on DAZN. That had a big fight feel. When I walked up to it, we were walking up to the arena, people, through the city centre, going to the arena, and we were in there, it was packed in the atmosphere, it was a world title, it was a big fight feel. But if you're a prospect boxing on that undercard, because, Michael Conlan's profile was built from as an amateur, the Olympics, the outrage with the decision, then he's over in America boxing on ESPN, so his profile's been built. Lee Wood's profile was built on Sky. He had the great win in Eddie's Garden to win the world title. So, he was in the golden contract on Sky. So his profile was built on Sky. So now, if you're a young fighter turning pro and nobody knows who you are, but you're a talented amateur, how do you build your profile? Like, okay, the fans that were live, but most people were there to watch Conor Woods, you know. So if you're doing a 6th round and having your 3rd pro fight, how many people are watching you on the DAZN? I don't know what the viewing figures were. You know, I'm hearing different numbers, but even if we go at the top one, not a lot in comparison to the people that are watching you on Sky. Now you might think, well, what does that matter? Well, it matters when you get up there. If you want to be a star and you want to be making big money on pay-per-view, and it does matter about pay-per-view, as has been proven recently with the DAZN launching their pay-per-view channel. If you want to earn the big money, you have to be on pay-per-view. If you're that good, if you're that good of a talent, and you believe you can go all the way, and you're going to become a world champion, and you're going to become a pay-per-view event, that's where you make the big money. But you can't. If you're boxing, that has to be developed. You don't become world champion and you're a pay-per-view star. No, you become because your 6 rounders were on TV, or your 8 rounders when you won the British title, you were on TV, and they were talking about you on Sky Sports News. And do you know what I'm saying? It takes years to develop someone's profile and build them, to promote them, market them into a star. You know, the DAZN, the guys who are already proven, like Anthony Joshua boxing on the DAZN, everyone knows Anthony Joshua. Katie Taylor boxing Amanda Serrano on the DAZN, everyone knows Katie Taylor. You know, it's okay for them. They're going to work, and they just want the most money. But if you're a star, if you're a prospect starting out, you know, I don't know. It's Sky and Boxer. You know, they're a new company, so if you're initially, I think, guys, when it first announced their deal, if you really want to gamble your future signing with an unknown entity, I'd say back in September that was probably the situation where, you know, Matchroom Eddie Hearn, you've been seeing him on the TV for the last 10 years. He's developed every big night in the UK. Eddie's been doing it really, you know, or Frank, Eddie on Sky predominantly. So, you know, but I think with in this sort of 6-month period, and especially with February being such a strong month, I think fighters now are starting to think, oh no, actually, Eddie isn't the only show in town, and actually, you know, where am I in the pecking order with Eddie? Because, you know, Eddie's Anthony Joshua, you know, Canelo. You know, where am I? You know, where Boxer, maybe I'm higher up the pecking order there. And, you know, Richard Riakpor's boxed 3 times. You know, he boxed in October, November and March. You know, all of a sudden, and you know what I mean? He's gone from here to here. You know, if you're a fighter that's maybe, I don't know, maybe the phone's not being answered for you because you're further down the pecking order. You're not, because Eddie's got maybe sport for choice a little bit. So guys that are less important to Eddie might be more important to Boxer just because of they're established as a company and they've got guys under contract who they're obligated to get out X amount of times a year, and then, you know, Boxer are coming in fresh with dates, with money, but not enough fighters. So, you know, I think some guys are going to be moving over, and I think Boxers stable are going to get deeper, stronger, and I guess we'll get better shows and better fights. But I think it's been, all in all, for a company starting out and a new partnership with Sky, I think it's been a pretty solid start.
On April 23rd, we've got Tyson Fury against Dillian Whyte. Having known Dillian a long time, how big a chance do you give him?
No, I'll give Dillian a very real chance. I mean, I'd make Tyson Fury a favourite, and a solid favourite. You can't not, I don't believe, with who he's beaten, his resume and his performances recently. But, you know, Dillian's there by merit, mandatory challenger, earned it, been in big fights, been in deep, been hurt, come back, had his loss to Povetkin, came back and was even better in the end. So, you know, you've got to give Dillian his credit. He's definitely got a chance, but Tyson rightly the favourite.
Tyson Fury's brought in Jarrell Miller for sparring for this fight. What's your view on that? Obviously, it's had a mixed reaction online. Obviously, certain people said that he shouldn't be in this position and involved in the sport. Others may say he served his ban, or the ban is coming to an end and maybe deserves a chance. What's your view?
No, I think he should be banned for life. You know, twice drugged to his eyeballs with, what was it, EPO, and what was the other one?
GW. can't remember the exact name.
Like, you know, like where is the deterrent? Like this, you know, in any sport, it's, you know, where's the like in a race, running athletics or cycling, it's bad enough. But in boxing, people get killed. You know, people die. People end up with brain trauma. No, I don't. Look, from Tyson, that's not down to Tyson though. You know, if he's the best person for Tyson to prepare, I don't knock Tyson for bringing him in as a sparring partner, but as a commission, as a sport, the commissions shouldn't be sanctioning to fight. I don't believe.
And we heard that Oleksandr Usyk is now taking the Anthony Joshua rematch. Any early thoughts on the fight?
Look, when the day after the fight, when they were talking about a rematch, immediately I was thinking that is a terrible fight for Anthony Joshua to go straight back into an immediate rematch. I know we did the immediate rematch with Ruiz, and people were saying a similar thing then, but it was pretty clear that he took his eye off the ball. There was all the talk about Wilder and Fury. I remember being in New York and no one was even asking him questions about Ruiz, the fight on the Saturday night. Everyone was on about like what's next, assuming it was a given. So he's human. He took his eye off the ball and he paid the price, put it right in the rematch. But you know, Usyk, that wasn't the case. Do you know what I mean? It was just, I think, stylistically, tactically, he's a bad fight for him. You know, he's got that speed, and he's got that ring IQ, and he's got that movement, and he's just, you know, someone like Joshua who's not as quick, and it's just a bad fight for him. I just don't like the fight for Joshua. I think it's a bad fight for him. I think he would have been better off having a couple of fights with and he could have justified that as well, but with a new trainer. I think people would say fair enough. And I know he's familiar with him, but he's never been the head coach before, Fernandez. So I think he could definitely be forgiven for having an interim fight. But maybe they don't want to lose the power of having that control on the world title. I don't know. I just don't think. Look, anything can happen in boxing. Joshua's a great fighter, and you know, really, you know, he could get on him, I suppose, and imposing his strength. It's possible, definitely, obviously, but I wouldn't put much money on it if I was betting. I think Usyk is a strong favourite in that fight.
And just circling back to Saturday night, we're expecting from Savannah Marshall, obviously, a fight that most people expect her to win, but I guess if she takes her eye off the ball, that Claressa Shields fight could go into dust.
Yeah, look, that aside, assuming that doesn't happen, and that can always happen because it's the human element, isn't it, complacency, but assuming she turns up the way she has the last few fights, I'm expecting a pretty conclusive, devastating win, because she's just, right now, her confidence is sky high, and she just seems to have gone to another level.
Matt, appreciate your time.